At last, the greatest album of love songs ever recorded. You'll want to share them with someone special.
Why do birds suddenly appear?
Sung by the man who turned a personal affliction into a recording career, Don No Soul Simmons.
Just like me, they long to be close to you. Why do stars fall down from the sky every time you walk by? Just like me, they long to be close to you. She'd been sitting there and
So curl up by the fireside and listen to the non-threatening music of this master showman.
And honey, I miss you. And I'm being good. And I'd love to be with you. If only I could. Say, has anybody seen my sweet gypsy rose? Here's her picture when she was my sweet man.
Young lovers of any age will cherish this timeless collection of the world's most romantic ballads. And if you act now, you'll get free this bonus album, Don Simmons, Down and Funky.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. Never understood a single word he said.
This two-record collection is not available in any stores, so order now.
Yes, he always had some mighty fine wine.
Look, this is just an informal chat. We were wondering what you were working on in your lab.
Well, I've invented a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
Right, and what's positive about that?
Well, it's a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
Well, could it also give worms to ex-boyfriends?
This is a drug for the world to give worms to ex-girlfriends.
Well, great. Thanks for stopping by.
You just don't get it here.
And do you think Phantom Menace is as good a movie as Empire?
Well, certainly. I think it's the best movie I've made yet.
Permission to treat this witness as hostile. Mr. Lucas, how do you explain that in Star Wars, Obi-Wan tells Luke that when he met his father, he was a great pilot, but in Menace, he's just a little boy?
My kids thought.
And how come Obi-Wan tells Luke that Yoda is the Jedi that trained him, but in the movie, Liam Neeson trains Obi-Wan?
The power of myth.
Isn't it true you knew this was a bad movie? That you wrote it over a weekend but kept telling people it was done for years?
Objection, Your Honor. The pod race was pretty cool.
That's what I'm thankful for. So much better than a traditional Thanksgiving. Yeah, dude. I hate Thanksgiving. What is that? What am I supposed to be thankful for exactly? You know, who am I meant to be thanking, right? I don't know. I've had to scratch and claw for everything I've got. If anything, I should be thanking myself.
Have you even heard him sing?
He made me sing last night. And if I were straight, I'd make you high-five me right now.
You are letting your judgment be completely clouded by lust.
Yes, thank you. See, Robert, Saul gets it.
Look, this isn't about me anymore. That dunce cannot be Sky.
Robert, I hear you, but I feel like you're not even considering Stevie's badonkadonk.
This is where he every day wearing a necklace like this, and he's in this urn.
Is his ashes?
Yeah, his ashes right here and here. Yep. So both of my grandpas are here.
What's that other thing on the necklace?
It's a Punisher emblem.
What's that about?
I like the Punisher just because he's he takes his the law into his own hands to punish the people that wronged him.
Tell me, Senator, did you nurse Catherine yourself?
What?
Did you breastfeed her?
Now, wait a minute.
Yes, I did.
Toughened your nipples, didn't it?
Oh, son of a bitch.
Amputate a man's leg and he can still feel it tickling. Tell me, Mom, when your little girl is on the slab, Where will it tickle you?
Take this thing back to Baltimore.
I'm married to a woman.
These are all my regulars. You strike me as a angry top. I'm clean, but you do have to glove up unless you're down for some frottage.
Frottage?
It's French for rubbing our dicks together.
Snake eyes. Ah! 88 teeth. Oh, hammerhead. Oh no, pussycat puss. Batman. Double header. Pickle puss. Pumpkinhead. Neon noodle. Jukebox jaw. Wolfman. Ruff. Ruff. You're all under arrest.
Hey, Jim. Congratulations. I really mean it.
Yeah, what you're doing is so incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, we are all really proud of you, man.
Yeah, even me, Jim.
Well, it's sort of nice being the best at something in the world, you know what I mean? I'm sort of sorry to end it.
End it? What do you mean end it? What's wrong?
Well, I've got everything now I need to obtain my goal.
You mean you're not going to be a good cab driver anymore?
That was too much hard work. I've always liked myself the way I was. There was just one thing lacking, and now I've got it.
What is it? What is that?
I want you to come to my house tomorrow, and I'll reveal my goal.
I want you to come to my house tomorrow night, and I'll reveal my goal.
By the way, do you spell your name with one O or two?
One.
I'll get it right next time, booby. And I got one here for Latka. Where's Latka?
Dress optional. He must mean how we dress, not if we dress, right?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Yours is the only one that says that.
Let me say something about Harry Potter. Warlocks are enemies of God. And I don't care what kind of hero they are. They're an enemy of God. And had it been in the Old Testament, Harry Potter would have been put to death.
For shame, Doc. Hunting rabbits with an elephant gun.
Elephant gun?
That's right, Doc. So why don't you go shoot yourself an elephant? You do, and I'll give you such a pinch!
We're going to start our volleys. We hope you like the show. Everything is ready. We're raring to go. We'll give you all the latest songs and dances full of pep. We're gonna start with hot shots. Just watch this chorus steps.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hello, everyone. Welcome to This Whole Everything. Oh, it's our 1005th episode, 50th episode. That's our 1500th episode of this whole everything. We have been coming at you every once in a while for a long time, and this was one of our first shows. And thank you, everybody that's looking for Fantastic Comics Presents. But we're not going to really be going too hot and heavy into comic books today, although we will be looking at some new books that are coming out tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to have a real fun show talking about Rick Worley's newest video on YouTube. It's like a documentary, if you will, an examination, a film about JK Rowling and her many controversies, but especially one in particular. And I've already watched it. I put some clips together, got some pictures set aside. We'll be talking about that and seeing if she's getting the fair shake that, you know, people don't think or do think, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's what we're going to do. First up, though, I'd like to, and, you know, you had your time to do it. Oh, well, let me do this first. We're going to be talking about comic creators crying over check marks. I'm going to make sure we talk about that. We're going to talk about New Comic Book Day, and then just like it says, talking JK with Rick Worley. All right. First things first, I would like to say,
we didn't come to borrow any money. We didn't come to borrow any dough. We didn't come to borrow any trouble. We just stopped in to say hello. Oh, hello to you, Mr. Benny. Please don't think that we are hammy. We just stopped in from Alabama. We just stopped in to say hello. Oh boy, you said it. We just stopped in to say hello. And don't forget it. We just stopped in to say hello. And I'm hello. Hello. Goodbye.
Hello, everyone. This is me. This is what you get when you come by the comic book store. My comic book store is Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California. There you go. See it going on down there. For those of you that are new here, we talk about comics from a store owner's point of view. But today we're going to interview a customer of the store, a person who has sold has created comics that I have sold in the store, and people whose videos I've watched on YouTube. He's a much bigger creator when it comes to the tonnage of people that watch his stuff. But, you know, we got the best viewers of all time right here at Fantastic Comics. And I'd like to say hello to everybody. Fantinuum was here early saying Rick Worley into house. Looking forward to hearing his perspective. Oh, all right. Joby Pill is in the other room. Mr. Snickdit, what's good in the hood? And oh, look, Rick Worley's there. Well, you know what? Instead of just seeing his little emoji, wow, StreamYard's really, they've done a good job.
Hello. 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 Oh. Go. Look out. Hello.
Hello.
Hey. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
What? I hear everything. I hear your mouse moving and all sorts.
Really?
Of stuff. Yeah.
Should I turn down my microphone?
Maybe just a little bit. You could go into settings here in the show.
Yeah.
And then you can turn down your microphone. Maybe that's it. Or your speaker.
Well, is that better?
This is your speaker, right? Your headphones.
Yeah, I just turned down the microphone.
Lithidor is here to say or evening to you too. I hope everybody's Halloween was uneventful. Did you see that throng of people that got squished up in, what was it, like South Korea?
I saw articles about it. I didn't watch it.
Jill
Is there
was
video?
I don't want to watch the video. No, thank you.
Yeah, that sounds pretty gross.
But Jill said it doesn't even look like anything's happening. It just, I don't need to know though. Kenneth Bird is here. Hello. We're going to be talking about JK Rowling in just a few minutes. Elon Musk bought Twitter. Okay. I don't usually talk about this kind of stuff. I think we can tie it in though. It seems like people that are fans of Elon Musk run a more conservative bent than people who are more on the left side, left leaning, right?
Are you going to pay him to get your blue check mark?
Well, firstly, I was never going to be able to earn my blue check mark. So
But now you can.
Now I can have it. And I still don't give a shit.
You just have to give Elon $8 a month for his bullshit.
Hey, maybe Fantastic Comics, when we're really, swimming in it, it's a business expense. It's not that big a deal. But I really think if you're not somebody that needs to be known by people.
Well, if anybody can buy it, then it doesn't mean anything, right? If
it means you're willing to do it. I mean, who has so much money to spend to make you think that Barack Obama is tweeting what he's tweeting? It
means you're a sucker that'll give Elon Musk $8.
Who's going to use this? Whatever. We always got Facebook. But I saw all sorts of people saying that they were going to be quitting Twitter. I think Eric Larson's off it. He was off it and he was on it when it looked like Elon Musk wasn't going to be purchasing it. And then he did purchase it, and now it looks like he's off.
I've lost a few followers the last 3 days. I don't know if it's people that quit Twitter or just people that, since I'm a right-wing Nazi now, that they don't like me anymore. It could be either one.
Well, we'll see. It's not often that I have members of the Klan on the show.
Right.
But
it could be either way. Could be because of my rampant bigotry, or it could be, Elon.
Well, I got to say that, I confuse them all for the same thing, so it really doesn't matter. Some people say Republicans. I'm joking, everybody. You should know that if you've watched any of these episodes. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but I probably should say that. All of it. But
I thought you were a Nazi for going way back. I always thought you were probably a Nazi.
No. I don't like them so much that I don't fetishize them like so many other people do. I got to use them as villains for all my comic book, movie, or story, fiction. They always got to, it's always got to be that. It's always got to be a World War II story. It's always got to be some, look.
You're sick of Nazis getting a bad rap. Why do people always got to beat up on the... Somebody give Nazis a break already.
I know. Exactly. I mean, I remember what, Surf Nazis Must Die. That was a trauma film, I do believe.
Yeah, it's been 70 years.
Like if you're like continuing Lloyd Kaufman's, Nazi fetish, you might want to ask yourself, what are you doing? Do you only like D-rated movies, horror movies? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Quit Twitter, a bunch of drama queens. Wow. No, there's a lot of people that said that. So they're like, let's go over to Instagram. Like, that's better. Or TikTok.
Do you remember, I guess it's been like 8 or 9 years ago when Facebook started demanding that you use your real name instead of a screen name, and everybody was like, we're quitting Facebook and we're going to go to Ello. Remember Ello? You probably don't even remember, but they're like, Ello's going to bring down Facebook. It was, it got like 50 members, and then it was around for a week, and then
MySpace is still available.
Yeah, you can go to MySpace, go get a Truth Social account.
Oh, definitely. Like, I think that's the thing about Trump was that he said, "No, I'm just going to stay at Truth Social or whatever the one is." You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, oh well, everybody's fears were, and then I heard that the N word significantly increased when Elon Musk, bought Twitter, and like that very like minutes after, all the bots were saying the N word, and all the people that say the N word were saying the N word. I want a makeup, a breakdown of everybody that did it. I don't care. It's fine. You have your African Americans, I mean, should I even say that? You have your black people that maybe said that. You have your white people, all the people. Did they put the whole word in there? Was it a hard R? Were they responding in kind? All of that happened at that moment. And then the thing is that these news sources always love to put up tweets of all the wrongdoings. Like you in your video that you made, you show a ton of tweets and people that compile them and all the horrible things that they say. And I didn't see one of those from a legitimate news source or an illegitimate news source about the N-word being increased a volume on Twitter the moment that Elon Musk was, he owns it now. He fired those people and everybody was doing it. And
I think what
I never
the
saw
statistic
one.
was people said that use of that word increased 500% when he took over Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But 500, it was a banned word before. So 500% increase means that it went from like 10 people up to 50 people.
I guess that
which is, it's bad. Nobody should be saying
Right.
that. But it's like out of the whole landscape of Twitter, that's like 50 stupid teenagers that think that they're going to be funny and post that, It's not exactly
how
like,
many of those are kids also, that's the other thing,
it's not exactly like the whole website became a Klan rally all of a sudden because like 50 people posted a really
it's
bad,
fucking
offensive
portrayed
joke.
that way.
Yeah,
it's sure as shit portrayed that way when it's the lead headline. Sounds like the same sentiments when Trump won, "I'm leaving the US." Oh, I'm sorry. Those hillbilly fucks were saying the same goddamn thing when Obama was getting his second term also. And they say it every time. Everybody always says it. And if they don't do that, it's at least I didn't vote for him. It's always a male voice with me when it comes to that shit.
The internet's made that a lot. When I was like a teenager, I used to think like, oh, this country's got so many problems. I'm gonna go live in England, But now you can see that people are people and that they're stupid everywhere, and that there's no utopia where the people aren't stupid. It's kind of sad to realize. You look at before, you'd hear headlines here and there, but you were kind of isolated, and now like you can go on British Twitter and read British people talking and see that this crap's just as bad over there.
Right, exactly. And the thing is I hear so many countries talking about free speech, and I don't even know if that's like a plank in most countries for real. I mean, that's my ignorance, but I don't know if like England is known for like super free speech necessarily. I mean, Morrissey never made it sound that way.
They have different laws there. It's not the same as our concept of free speech,
right?
But people are trying to, well, that's a whole other thing. People are trying to end that here anyway.
We'll talk about that in a moment. Would you like to look at some comic books before we do this?
I'd love to look at some.
All right,
comic books.
Here are some comic books that are coming out tomorrow for NCBD 11/2/22. But first, I want to let everybody know that you can win Vengeance #1, the first appearance of Miss America Chavez. All you have to do is come into my store, or if you're real nice to me and we talk on the internet, purchase 5, 6, and 7 of Image Anthology 30th anniversary. 5, 6, and 7 all 3 have stories by Joe Casey, who created Miss America Chavez right there, along with Nick Dragotta. And this is the variant cover, and we are going to have a drawing on Thanksgiving. Well, 2 days before Thanksgiving. So pay attention to that day, or at least, find out. We'll contact you. Don't worry about it. But you have until basically that Sunday to come on in and get 5, 6, and 7 of the Image anthology that Joe Casey wrote a story in. And then there's a whole bunch of other people. Like, look at that. Jock and Snyder are back to do a witch's story. Woo. And I think there's like some Invincible stuff. And look at this. There's a Pro story. Wow. Haven't seen that in 20 years, really. But there you go. So here are some books that are coming out tomorrow, and you can let me know if play association with this. Go for it. What do you think of She-Hulk #7 by Rainbow Rowell and some artist I don't know?
That looks amazing.
I
want like 3 copies. The whole thing. Just very exciting. I'm going to try to be enthusiastic about comics I don't know anything about.
Have you watched any of the She-Hulk television show?
No, I'm not 5 years old. Or do you like the She-Hulk show?
No, it's horrible.
I can't.
If that's what women want to watch, then I don't care.
I can't with any Marvel Universe MCU stuff. I can't deal with it anymore. I used to watch a lot of it just so I could make fun of it, and then I'm just like, it's not even fun to do that anymore. Is this like based on the show, or is this like
Let me read this to you. Hey Rick, I'm a huge fan and love your simple, well-researches and effective arguments. Have a nice day. That's by Ruffles Oregano.
I brought my fan to your show. That's
great. We're going to be talking about this in just a few minutes, and we're going to give it good time.
It's the Rick Worley bump.
Yeah, the Rick Worley bump. And, hey, if you like what you're seeing, maybe think about hitting the subscribe and the thumbs up and all that stuff. I have a banner for it. I'm so ahead of the game. And Doc Post-a-Lot is here. Excellent. See, we're getting all the people coming in. Got 18 folks in here right now. It's good. We got it going. So we're just going to talk about some comics that are coming out tomorrow. I do not read this, and I didn't watch the show and like it that much. First episode, that's it.
Yeah.
Not for me. Batman 129 by rising star Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez. I hear this ends on a cliffhanger.
Is Batman like a robot now or something? Or what's going on?
There's some sort of robot that was programmed to be able to beat Batman and anybody in the Justice League. It's kind of like a Tower of Babel thing, except it's fucking his shit up too. Batman's still poor. He's only like millions there. But he's still hanging out in Gotham.
So Phil Jimenez is drawing it?
Jorge. Rising, not even Rising Star. This guy is like, he's going to be doing a Mark Miller book soon. So, he's like, I got a payday coming outside of Batman. I'm going to show them how much I'm worth. And
I think Chip Zdarsky blocked me on Twitter.
Did you say something about him?
I'm trying to remember.
Not like your Woody Allen movie?
No, I think he was one of the ones that tried to Me Too another comic book artist that had been in his studio at one point. And
was
I made a joke.
Cameron Stewart or somebody like that?
I think it was Cameron. Yeah, I think that was the one. This is all vague, but I made some comment about the thing and he blocked me right after.
Cameron Stewart, Babs Tarr, Brandon Fletcher right there.
Cameron Stewart's the one that got Me Too'd, right? Because he was inappropriate or something.
Probably rightfully so. From what I remember. Like it's a fog because so many people do things and then sometimes the parameters are changed, the goalposts are moved, and it's like, wow, I didn't know I could groom a 40-year-old.
That's what it was. I see. Okay, I'm like 90% sure it was
like totally not happening.
It was Chip, I think, but I'm not sure. But I think the story I'm talking about is he was talking about somebody that was he was a studio partner with them, and he was like, oh, that this person was like he was like 28 and he was dating women in their early 20s. And he was like, I'm so ashamed I didn't do anything about his, grooming. And I was like, are you fucking serious? This is like man in 20s dates women in their 20s. This is like somebody call the cops. I think that's what I said as a comment, like man in 20s dates women in their 20s. Somebody call the cops. And then he blocked me. I believe that's what that's my Chip Zdarsky story, my contribution.
Well, nonetheless, he's a fine writer, and
I'm sure
he's doing some good things, creator owned at Image. We have somebody asking about any good Vertigo recommendations. Well, yes, Enigma came out in the 90s by Milligan and Fagredo. Possibly one of the best comic stories ever. No, definitely a top 10 for me.
you've been telling me to read that for like 3 years. I should probably read.
And the thing is, it's like so many people have found out elements about it. It's like, so there's a Legion of Superheroes story, the Great Darkness Saga, and they always have to slam Darkseid's face on it because who else is going to read a Legion of Superheroes story, right? But that's 4 issues in, you find out that it's Darkseid after many issues prior. And it's like it's a reveal, this is an exciting thing. Well, same thing with Enigma. There's a reveal, but what people don't know is there's another reveal. And if you like nuance, because people are gonna like that know what I like are gonna say Yule hates this kind of writing, but Milligan's great. Talking Soul says, "I Zombie." How dare you? That's not in print. Women at the age 35 are at the risk of being groomed. Listen, I don't like when people prey on other people. That's what I'm going to say.
There was a few weeks ago, it was
Unless
going
you're a
around
lion.
that David Lynch was a predator a few weeks ago on Twitter because I think his wife is like 42 and he's 70 something. So, she's a 42-year-old woman, but apparently she can't decide who she wants to marry.
Somebody 60 or 70 wants to put up with David Lynch's shit? Seriously?
I don't think
you gotta have like, I mean, not that 70-year-olds can't have, an active life, but I mean, that guy's a nutbag. I love him, but
I think he's mostly off in his little hut, like making sculptures and stuff. I don't think he bothers his wife all that much.
Probably not.
I think he's got like this house, and then he's got like his little art studio that's up the hill behind the house. And I was reading this thing with him where he was like talking about how in his little art studio, how he pees in the sink in there because it doesn't have a bathroom and he doesn't want to go back to his house. So he just like lives in this little studio up the hill. So I think his wife doesn't. She's like, she just sits down there and spends his money. I don't think she's got anything to worry about.
Oh, very good.
But no, nevertheless, it was just the idea that people were talking about a 42-year-old woman being groomed, It's so fucking insane.
Yeah, there you go. Next up, we have Hulk. Donny Cates, Ryan Otley. I think Ryan Otley is taking over the writing right now, even though Cates has his name on it. Nonetheless, Cates has been very, I don't know, he's kind of been absent. He's doing this Image book, and it's not really doing it for the store. And it's called Vanish. It's got Ryan Stegman on art, so it should be really good, but nobody really seems to care in my comic store. Cates' Hulk has been selling very well, but I think Otley is involved more in the scripting right now. Definitely coming up, he will be. So I don't know what to say about that, everybody. Maybe start banking on Hulk. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe if you like it, maybe it won't, but at least Otley will be doing the art. Here we go. A book that supposedly was done quite a while ago by Mark Silvestri. He's teaming up the Joker and Batman. What do you think about that?
I didn't know Mark Silvestri still was drawing stuff. I haven't seen anything from him for a long time.
Well, you are looking at it right now.
That doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look I'm not a fan of his like early stuff, but this looks okay. I mean, drawing wise.
People have anointed him so high on the status of people that are artists, and I'm like, I don't know. And then somebody told, so and then I was saying this to somebody in the store, and he's all, you mean Silvestri same face? And I'm all, that's exactly right. If it wasn't for the fact that Storm had a mohawk and was black, I wouldn't have known that she wasn't Dazzler or Psylocke or, you know, whoever it was. Now she, you know, the clothing and the certain things, but if you just stripped all the characters down, the you know, mostly especially women, they were very, very similar. And I'm looking at Harley Quinn right there, and I'm thinking that looks like, you know, just kind of like his Jubilee, you know.
Yeah, he's only got the 2 or 3 faces he can draw. But what's that thing in the purple robe? Is that a character we know?
I don't know. Jack Lugo says, I didn't understand the whole dialogue surrounding Laura Dern's age when she filmed Jurassic Park. She and Sam Neill don't even have a romantic scenes in the film. Was there really? I didn't think. I don't know. I don't remember it being that way.
That's a new thing. That's when the last movie came out, that because Laura Dern did some interviews where she said she didn't know if it was. She very casually just kind of said like, "Oh, I don't know if we would do the same age difference if we made the movie now."
Well, that might.
But they never. It was supposed to be. I think he was supposed to be like the, you know, professional archaeologist, and she was supposed to be a student or something, which I guess is mildly now it wouldn't be okay now. But I don't know. She always, when I saw that movie, she seemed like an adult woman. He seemed like an adult man. So I didn't really like. I didn't make an issue out of it, especially since like Jack just said, they don't even have any romantic scenes. They're kind of just seem like they like each other.
About kids and stuff like that, and I mean they're a little bit different than they are in the book, but whatever.
Yeah. They seem like maybe like they were friends that they went out on a couple dates and it didn't go anywhere. That's kind of how they seem in the movie, but
really,
I don't know. You think that there were more? I don't know.
I mean, just talking about kids, like you know, planning their lives or whatever. You know,
it just didn't seem like so. Like the movie just didn't really deal with it. So
no, it was really not important. That
like,
was just for that one thing that you know, whoever would care can hang on. It was for that lady in the audience that's important to her, that they have some sort of connect. You know,
you got to have it in there somewhere.
I say that to Jill all the time. I'm like, she's like, why is this fucking shit in this Flash episode? I'm all, that's for you, Jill. this romance angle, it's like so forced, and
they always got to have the well. You see, Laura Dern was in that movie. That my cousin, who's a lesbian, when we were kids and that movie came out, she was obsessed with Laura Dern in that movie. She loved the shorts and the boots that Laura Dern wore. Totally. She got boots that she said were her Ellie Sattler boots to look like. She was just such a giant crush on Laura Dern in that movie. So that's probably another reason, because it was always like a lesbian thing to me, that character. You know, she was like,
oh well, I can understand that. Yeah,
sure. She's out there in her safari boots and her like digging around in the dirt and stuff. She never seemed like, you know, the chick character to me, but.
All right, here we have a She-Hulk. In the very least, made this Philippe want to check out the comic book, so I'm happy about that. That's good. And they're not all too expensive these days if you go and get the classic stuff. I feel like I've been putting up with Hulk since Immortal ended, not really enjoying it. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Alan Davis has same face. Yes, he does. He does. It's the difference between his Batman and the Outsiders, for some reason, or even his Excalibur, to today's same face. I like today's more than previous, personally. Maybe the stories he gets are better now. Jill says, of course, they still cast younger actresses still. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, wait. And he's her mentor and boyfriend, but it was no big deal. Hello, yeah, sure, exactly. Dinosaurs, more important. All right, so Deadpool's coming out tomorrow, new #1 by Elisa Wong. Supposedly, by people that say this kind of thing, she got her job by saying, hey, CB Cebulski, you racist pig, why don't you hire real Asians? Since he was, Akira Yoshida when he was writing for Marvel in like the early aughts.
Like 30 years ago. Are people still trying to make a thing out of that?
Well, Alyssa did, supposedly. For those of you that are interested in Ryan North and what he might possibly do in Fantastic Four, because he's going to be the new writer, he has a miniseries with Secret Invasion, and I assume it's not going to be ha-ha. So, this will be a good early indicator of maybe or not you can trust. I mean, the way Fantastic Four has been lately, anything is a welcome change. And so somebody that's not a typical superhero writer coming in can be, scary. And sometimes, anyway, Secret Invasion miniseries starting up tomorrow.
Is that like Secret Invasion 3? Is it the third time they've done it, or the fourth? Or
I don't know what's going on actually. I haven't read it, and I probably won't personally. So get your orders in. Black Panther number 11. I have a customer who gets Black Panther. And it sounds like this customer has got, ever since they've been a customer at my store, Black Panther has been purchased by them. But they came in the other day and said, I'm going to tell you something I never thought I'd have to say. And he said, drop Black Panther from my hold list. And he said, I can't stand what John Ridley's doing with the character. And that's rough. Made me cry. Just a little bit. Nice cover, though. I like that.
Gotham City, year one.
Year one, Gotham City. We have to know what happened before Batman's parents were killed and what they were up to.
Have to.
So that's what's going on here. Tom King. I enjoyed the first issue. It's a lot of Slam Bradley, actually. So that's a fun character in the Gotham DC Detective Comics mythos. And every once in a while, him coming back is cool.
Speaking of Slam Bradley.
Bradley.
You remember a few years ago, I think it was for the 80th anniversary or whatever, they advertised that they were doing omnibuses of the first 27 issues of Detective Comics. And I was excited because I thought this, I have all the Golden Age Batman omnibuses, but it's so weird it's so weird that you can't get the first 26 issues of Detective Comics, which is the
racism.
Well, it's the comic that DC is named after, and you can't get the first 26 issues. You just can't get. And so, is that they canceled it because, did they just because they solicited it and then canceled it? Like, did they just now notice the racism because it's been there for 80 years?
When they were putting it together, and since it was probably somebody younger doing the grunt work, they said
so they just now in the
the
year
lips
20
on this character just isn't working for me.
Like this was the first time that they realized that comics from the 1930s had racist stuff in them. It was just so weird to me that I pre-ordered it and then they took it away, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
I'm gonna just use the words that were on the comic cover. Okay, everybody loves to talk about Captain America punching Hitler, on the cover of this Captain America. Freaking Superman was like slapping a Jap, and they had like Tojo, and they were doing all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah,
and the villains were stereotypical. Wonder Woman had Egg Foo, I think is the name of the character, and
that's why it's so
Yellow Claw, right?
It's so sad to me when I see people using like old Captain America issues of like, punch Nazis, like that's what Captain America would do. And
because
like,
we're just defending Nazis again.
And I was like, have you ever? Well, no, but people use these like old Batman and Superman comics as examples of like, this is what Supes would do. And I was like, have you ever actually read any of that shit? Because it's like, there's a reason that they just did their second Captain Marvel movie, but they won't release any of the early Captain Marvel issues because, if you ever read those, especially Captain Marvel Jr., it's beautifully drawn, Macro Boy and all that stuff. But, there's a whole issue in there where the whole plot is Captain Marvel Jr. There's like the Japanese make a serum that it turns him into a Jap. And so he takes the serum and he gets like these giant teeth and his skin turns bright yellow and they have to cure him from being a Jap. I mean, that's what these comics were like.
Damn.
And it's so weird that people are like just
I had
selectively
no
like,
idea.
yeah.
I've never read those, so that was
Well,
one of his Fawcett, I assume.
Yeah, that was the early Fawcett Marvel issues, which a lot of those are public domain now, so you can get them like in
Speaking of Asian
cheap ass
characters,
reprints.
Tiger Division #1 comes out tomorrow. South Korea's superhero team. Lots of first appearances. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Sorry, continue.
No, I was just saying, like, that's what those comics are really like, and it's weird that people have like this weird idea in their head of, of what they were and what they represent and everything. That's not actually what was in those comics. But anyway, I still think that they should reprint it because I don't think that it's useful to pretend like that never happened. I think that they should acknowledge, because they're not dealing with it, because the fact that they pretend like it never happened and they don't talk about it is why people have this skewed idea that it used to be all beautiful and represent their values, because they're talking about like the 2 or 3 covers that get memed, and they're not talking about what was actually in those comics. Anyway, that's why I think it's really stunted that people talk about superheroes as being like moral authorities, but
well, we could get into that also. Cherish is I don't know what the hell. It's characters created by Mark Silvestri. Go figure. Hell to Pay. This is the important one, everybody. 8 Billion Genies has been it's a success without a doubt. It's, as far as I'm concerned, at the end of the year, it's mini series, maybe series title, whatever you want to call it. It's the read of the year. It's fun. It's well drawn, and Charles Sewell is a pretty good writer, and he has a new book coming out called Hell to Pay. And this is Will Slaney is the artist, and I think he's an Irishman. So there you go. And then last but not least, I only got a few of these. Miyazaki's Shuna's Journey is a graphic novel that's coming out tomorrow. And a lot of people ask me, do you have any Miyazaki in the store? And usually the Miyazaki that's available is stills or pictures of the movie with word balloons. And I don't appreciate those as a comic book. But there is a manga that he did. For those of you that are interested, I'll give you like a few moments to tell us in the chat what that is, and then we can talk about it. I'll bring it up then.
I was ready. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. I'm done talking about new comics tomorrow.
I was going to say you just showed all your browser tabs, and I was reading them and hoping there was some porn or something, but there was nothing scandalous. That was a letdown.
Please, the Astros lost Game 3 to the Phillies, 7-0. So that's pretty exciting. But no, that's on the secret website. Anyway, so that's some of the things that are coming out tomorrow. There's a new Bendis book, Shazam, blah blah blah. Let's get into the meat of the show. I have a video. Hey everybody, welcome Rick Worley to the show. Rick Worley has created some comic books in the past. What are they, autobiographical? Somewhat autobiographical. Do you have like a genre that your book?
Sort of. I mean, they kind of were. It was meant to be a deconstruction of the sort of all the autobiographical sketchbook comics people were doing, but I don't know.
But now nobody does it.
I don't know if it really came across that way to a lot of people because people just, anyway.
They suck. People suck.
I drew myself as a cartoon character because I was trying to do it sort of like in the Arkham style or whatever, and people take that in like people thought there was like a furry thing, like I was identifying with the animal in some way, and I was like, wow, okay. So
well, anthropomorphic stuff, it's hit or miss. It's very strange. Like I don't personally like anthropomorphic comics, but one of my all-time favorites is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Obviously, there they are, right there.
Well, that was. Have you been reading the IDW series? Because that thing's
No,
gone
I
full.
can't do it.
Like the last 2 years, it's gone full furry. The IDW
really?
comic, it's such furry shit.
That's because of Sophie Campbell.
It's got I'm like, this is just.
I knew Sophie Campbell was a sick fuck, but I didn't know what kind.
I always thought Ninja Turtles were always talking animals and shit, but that's like a comic book thing. It never seemed like a furry thing to me until the last couple of years, and then I was like, whoa.
Right. Well, I mean, they were the only animals that were really walking around other than like Splinter. Everything else was, human based. At least until they got into aliens and things like that.
Yeah,
the Triceratopmen or whatever they're called. Yeah.
Well, they had Triceratrons, but the toys
right.
started. They needed to bring in more toys, so they're like, oh, now we've got a gecko, and we've got a frog, and we've got a cat, and we've got a duck, and But
yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, yeah, you can only buy so many surfboard Raphaels or whatever it was.
Right, and then
I got the hot dog.
Yeah, they start to get like,
I got the Donatello with a hot dog.
Here's like the Star Trek Michelangelo and the Universal Mummy Raphael. Yeah, they start to really run out of toys to sell.
I don't even know why we were talking about this anymore. But you
started talking about furries.
Furries, that's right.
Those goddamn furries.
Those goddamn furries.
Yeah.
I always, at conventions when I was a kid, furries were there, and I stayed away. And I kind of, even as I was old, I in my teen years, my 20s, I think I probably said something like, "Oh, stay away from them. They're furries," like out loud. I had no problem saying it.
When you were a kid, your brain just said stranger danger, and it was a good instinct. It's a little alarm bell somewhere.
I don't know how where do you put cosplay in that? If you got furries down here, where's cosplaying? Is it like high up? Is it? I'm doing this for some of my customers.
Cosplay over the last decade or so has really started to annoy me. It used to be like a harmless thing of just, oh, I'm going to the show, so I'm going to put on a Jedi robe or something. But it got into this really, where people try to like make a career out of it, and they go to the comic book show and they want, they're not going there to see the artists, they're going there to get seen themselves. And I think it's really annoying, when they try to make it all about. It's like you put on a fucking Star Trek costume, you don't deserve a parade, But I just hate it. I hate everybody. That's what I'm trying to say.
And there you go. Like we said just a few seconds ago. Question: is that customer going to see Wakanda Forever? I do believe so, but that customer also does hashtag recast T'Challa. So, there you go. Cosplay is very commercial now. Talking Soul says. Well, I mean, they give prizes, right?
It is. People make a job out of it. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's not like a fun little thing anymore.
But what
you
we
can
have,
go.
How about let me do this? But what we have Rick here really for, I'm gonna clip all. No, I'm just joking. Is for his YouTube videos that he's been making the last few years, and they've come with varying degrees of success, of great success. You said that it wasn't your Star Wars video that's actually your number one video, right?
No, not even close.
No. What is your number one video? Or
my video that has the most views is my Woody Allen video, and after that is my Sopranos video. That sort of had like the most longevity. That's been getting like 500 views a day for a year now. Which it's not a lot compared to like a big time channel, but for me that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, your channel is sizable. I mean, you're like a monetized channel. You the thing is that you put out such quality work that you're not going to be able to see that every month. Have you thought about doing like something monthly and like piecing it out, or maybe like change? I don't know. I'm just winging it right now.
No, I think about
usually
it.
It's movies that you clip down, right?
Yeah, I think I've thought about doing short, fun, or just doing like reviews where I just sound off for 10 minutes about this or that movie. But it's not that's not interesting. I like to do stuff that's, more
So many
interesting.
people do it. It's like
Right. And all the people that do that, they make so much more money than me and they have so many more subscribers than me. So it's like I think, oh, I should be doing that, but it's just not, I don't like to make junk.
yeah, I mean, I have a premise as far as like reviewing movies, and Jill's wanted me to like work on it with her. But I don't know, I just don't really have the time. And even though my gimmick is pretty funny and it shouldn't take that much time, still the effort has to be put into it. And I'm just not in that place, even though
Yeah.
there's I got this thing, and I think this thing nobody's ever done at all ever. And I love to tell you about it, but no.
I think you did tell me about it.
I did tell you about it. Just
Yeah, you told me.
Oh, most
keep it a
people that
secret.
come in the store know. But yeah, so we're here for your videos, and I love to bring you on when you have a new one. Actually, I never talked to you about The Sopranos. What's your premise? That's about the last episode or the last season?
Yeah, it's talking about the final. Well, it's explaining the final episode, but so I talk about the whole last couple of years to build up to that.
Gotcha.
But
I tapped out pretty early on The Sopranos. I was like, I'm done. I don't like this this Italian stereotype being propagated yet again in front of me. I'm done with it. Can't stand it.
Can't stand it. It's only the best show that's ever been made by a huge margin. But
I don't know. I'm watching What We Do in the Shadows right now, and I think you might be wrong.
Yeah, that's some stiff competition right there.
Dude, I love that show. I can't help it.
I watched I think 3 seasons of it. I got kind of bored, but I watched a lot.
Oh no, they have like a tonal shift in the last episode of the last season, and it's I'm sure it'll all get undone at the end, but it's pretty cool. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. Like they found a way to keep you interested in that last season, so I would recommend you check it out. Elithador says that Sopranos went downhill after Tony took control of the family.
It's lies. Somebody's asking, what about JK Rowling? Because we're supposed to be talking about JK Rowling. We've been babbling for an hour.
All right. So this is about JK Rowling, and here, this is a video that I've been playing to get people interested in it, and I like to start off with this.
What vice do you most despise?
Bigotry. Everyone wants to just hear, well, there are good guys and baddies, and it's about wanting to fight the baddies. Well, the trouble is that the people you call baddies think they're doing exactly the same thing. It is much more nuanced than that, and I know that's very cryptic, but you really have to let this story unfold before you draw all your conclusions.
Of course, this video is going to get into the recent controversies over Rowling's statements on trans issues. But I think in order to contextualize what I'm going to say about all of that, first I need to go into the many, many other controversies that have surrounded her before that to show that it's not a new thing or something that came out of nowhere, but it's actually part of a long trend.
All right. It's kind of like what it's all about. What your whole, I mean, you have points that you make to cast aspersions on people. I'm just joking. You let people strangle themselves all the time in these videos. Firstly, what's the deal? Why'd you want to talk about JK Rowling?
I think the common theme in a lot of my videos is stuff where I see a lot of people online spouting off about a topic, but they have no idea what they're talking about. And so it irritates me and I want to set them straight, And that's the same reason I did the Woody Allen video or a video about the Sopranos ending or whatever. It's always because I feel like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, but it takes an hour to explain it. It's not a simple thing, So that's why I make a big video to tell everybody how smart I am. But, I think it's always just something that I feel like a lot of people are getting it wrong. And I feel like I'd like to say the other take on it.
So like in the case for the Woody Allen movie that you did, should we call them documentaries? What do you want to call these?
I call them video essays, but I'm
Okay.
I'm secretly very flattered when people call them documentaries.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like a documentary. I mean,
Somebody was sending me like my Woody Allen video. There was like a teacher, I think it was in Australia or something, at a college course, and he put my Woody Allen video was on his documentary course, like for his students required viewing. And I was like, wow, look at, so I pretend to be humble and I call them video essays, but when people, act like that, I'm very flattered.
Yeah. So like Woody Allen, oh, he married his daughter. That's probably like number one, right? Like right there.
That's a perfect example, because people just say that all the time and it's not actually true or even close to true, but it's just a thing that people say it and that they're never challenged about it. And it's exactly the same with JK Rowling. It's just people, there's what she's actually said, and then there's this whole fantasy universe people have that they've invented of all the things that they imagine that she thinks,
So you like, all right, so it's easy when it's a Jesus camp situation to say these people are nutbags.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, oh, Harry Potter's the devil. You can't be practicing witchcraft, et cetera, et cetera. Let's burn some books.
Right.
But then, when you get people that are supposed to be, have rational thought, maybe people that actually have conversation and aren't like so readily or available to like grab their pitchfork and start going out, what's up with that?
People that they're supposed to be the progressive, enlightened, believe science people, and they just have these whole conversations about it that don't engage with what the actual situation is or anything that she's actually said. So, I mean, I think that 90% of what you see about JK Rowling is stuff that it's just as crazy as the Jesus camp people. It's just stuff that's totally nuts. And then the other 10% is people that just sort of unquestioningly like, oh, well, my friend says that she's a bigot and, I like my friend, so I'm just going to go with that. People don't actually, oh, I better go and investigate this before I, that's not how people think. They just, oh, I hear the word on the schoolyard is she's a bigot.
I've had a number, this, comic books and pop culture and stuff like that. It often there's an intersection, but I've had a couple of conversations that I was not a part of that I was just like overhearing about people talking about JK Rowling, and it's like, I hear it's this, I hear it's that, and kind of like I had a buddy saying, yeah, well,
right,
she shouldn't have said that horrible stuff, but
they
didn't say, oh, well, she shouldn't have said blah blah blah. It was just yada yada yada.
Because that's how groupthink works. Because then if their friend said it, then if they say that she didn't say it, then that's like, oh, I'm calling my friend a liar. So their allegiance is to their friend over JK Rowling, right? So they're just like, well, I'm just going to go with my friend because I'm not going to. They don't feel an obligation to defend JK Rowling over their friend. I'm not going to call my friend a liar for the sake of defending JK Rowling. It's like, well, yeah, but you're looking at your emotional relationship to the source as opposed to whether or not the source is right. Because you might like your friend, but that doesn't mean your friend's never made a mistake.
Right.
And that's not how people think about it. They're just it's a tribal thing. They want to be in the right group.
Well, it is, and kind of going back to like the Woody Allen thing, then it's like a whole thing about child molestation,
right,
rape and grooming and all that other stuff, and it's like, well, these are all horrible things that you're talking about, but they didn't necessarily happen.
I just saw a lot of it's the same way every time. I just saw it this last couple of weeks with the Kevin Spacey verdict. And some of the stories about Spacey sound very bad. It sounded like he did, some of the being sexually aggressive with a 14-year-old is very bad. He's accused of very serious things. But the fact in this case was, if you read about the trial, they proved like pretty fucking conclusively that the story that Anthony Rapp had never happened. It's just impossible that it ever happened. And the reaction that people were upset about, the reaction from people that were upset that Kevin Spacey got acquitted is they were like, oh, well, we've seen this before. Powerful men get away with anything. And I'm like, you're talking about powerful men as this group. You're not talking about specifically, did this person molest this other person? Like, what are the facts here with Kevin Spacey and Anthony Rapp? They're talking about their general notion about, powerful men are bad, which is, that's fine, but they're substituting their generalities for taking the effort to actually learn about this case. And if they did learn about this case, they would find out that based on what the evidence that they have, the jury made the correct verdict. The jury deliberated for like 30 minutes because there was nothing to debate. It was so obvious that they couldn't convict Kevin Spacey based on the evidence that was presented. But the evidence doesn't make a difference to people online because they're not talking about Kevin Spacey. They're talking about all molesters and all powerful men, And that's the same way that people think about Woody Allen or any of these stories.
Right. I'm going to play a clip of JK Rowling's controversies.
I think in some ways the fans know that it seems ridiculous to act as though they know more about the books than Rowling does, so they try to find other justifications for their negative reactions. My favorite one of these in this case is that she's trying to retroactively make the books more progressive than they actually were. First, since like I said before, people make a controversy out of it every single time she opens her mouth. There's a whole Wikipedia page about her political opinions, and you can see that for 25 years of public life, she's consistently been progressive and left-wing on virtually every issue.
It's weird going to a clip of you talking.
I hate hearing my own voice. Yeah.
Well, gotta live with that.
Wish I could hire voice actors if I had a budget.
Oh yeah.
Get Kevin Spacey to narrate all my videos.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. I like that. Yeah. So early on, she's hated because she's saying things about Trump. She's leaning in what however she leans, and people didn't like her, so they and then of course there's the Christian that can't handle witchcraft in books, so they're like getting rid of her stuff, right?
I have headlines on there a few years apart from like the same website, like a website like Pink News, which is this really stupid. It's kind of like BuzzFeed for the gays or something, but they there are headlines like 3 years apart on the same website where at first it's like JK Rowling's perfect response to homophobic internet trolls, and like JK Rowling is basically my Patronus, and they have like retarded articles like that. I mean, bad articles like that. We can't say retarded, can we?
Well, I understand what you were saying, and I guess today we can.
Okay, I shouldn't have said retarded. But anyway, and then the same website, like 3 years later, it's like they're attacking people because, this horrible person is defending JK Rowling, and this horrible celebrity, like Tom Felton or, whatever celebrity or Robbie Coltrane or whoever stood up for her. And they're just a bad person for standing up for her. And I'm like, your same fucking website said the same thing about her 2 years ago. If you just like go back through your own headlines,
You say Robbie Coltrane. Just today, a couple hours ago, there was an article written, and Culture Crave retweeted it, about Daniel Radcliffe. This is the Harry Potter guy, right?
Yeah, speaking of
he
idiots.
Can't stand her now.
Yeah. Which is interesting from somebody who has had a 20-year career as an actor when he can't even act purely because of the books that she wrote. I mean,
what? I heard he can act.
I have yet to see Daniel Radcliffe act in any of the movies that he's done.
What about when he was like a farting military person or something like that?
That was a good part for him where he just lied there as a corpse. I think that part showcased the range of his abilities.
Damn.
Yeah.
But he does his own stunts at least, right?
I think that they had a mannequin for that. I think that I think you're right. They really did kill him and put him in a lake. And
well, I didn't know we were going to be slamming on him that hard, but yeah, continue.
It's just the perfect thing of it's just this is like for him. This is the easiest way in the world to get free points from all of his followers, right? Is just go on there and like, I love trans people and I'll defend them forever, as opposed to actually analyzing what she says or why does she think that. he does the easiest thing in the world, which is just go get virtue signal points, So
are those a real thing? Because like people that are on the right side of history would suggest that virtue signal is something that, like, is that something you can really do? Can you really signal your virtue? I don't know. I'm kind of being silly about it, but people do. They don't like when people say that. Like I think like
I
within
like
your own group, saying, "Oh man, that was a real racist thing to say," or usually it's you saying it as you said it, not realizing that what was going to sound out loud, you notify it. But now it's like everybody's trying to, "Oh, I heard you do it, therefore I'm going to get points for making sure everybody knows you're a piece of shit."
right. They're performing for their Twitter, for whoever might see their tweet.
It is all social media, though, right?
Yeah, it's a performance. I mean, another thing that's in common between my JK Rowling video and my Woody Allen video is the stuff that people say to me on social media and the stuff they say to me in private message is a complete 180, because in public on social media, they either ignore it or they start telling me I'm a misogynist Nazi now. But in private message, everybody, including trans friends that I have, will tell me that, yeah, they know that I'm right. Or even if they don't say that, they'll at least say that they understand where I'm coming from and they know what I'm thinking, and that they know I'm obviously, not a bigot or something, and they understand why I feel that way. But in public, they've got this whole character that they have to do. It's the whole other thing.
All right, so when I was looking at that Daniel Radcliffe thing, I went down in the comments and there was a lot of people saying, "Well, what did she really do?" Just like people at the Woody Allen, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, he didn't really marry his daughter, and she wasn't really his daughter," and then they'll go into the whole thing, and then eventually I'll see a link to your video. But here someone's like, "Well, what did she really say? What did she say? What did she say?" And then finally someone links it, and it's like, this isn't even a real news site, and they're just linking a few of her tweets together, and she has problems with the way things are spoken public, and I hesitate because you get into it later, but I have people that come into my store that are trans, and I don't give a fuck. I mean, it's not a thing that bothers me, and I feel like I have to say that now, kind of like we were saying earlier about other stuff. But I also have points of view, and I also don't want to wade in any of these waters, as a businessman and all sorts of stuff. But I think it's an interesting conversation to have. And unfortunately, having any conversation leans you a certain way, whether or not someone's paying attention to what you're saying or not.
Yeah, and I've had people, since I did the video, message me and things, and they're like, people that are trying to reach out to me because they think that my heart's been hardened now that I've become a right-wing Nazi, and they think they're going to come change my mind, and so they'll come and tell me, I think if you just took the time to get to know some trans people, you would feel differently, which is so presumptuous because I live in fucking Berkeley, California. Of course I know fucking, what I talk about in the video that like half of my ex-boyfriends have decided that they're non-binary all of a sudden, I know.
Well, you really changed them at one time.
I know they
all of them.
I broke them. I broke their little brains. No, but I even had, when I was making my Rowling video, I had a little group of 2 or 3 trans friends that I would send them stuff all the time just because I would bounce it off them and see what they said. And like I was saying before, in private message, they say one thing. On their public accounts, it's different. But I had that, and I would send them like, am I totally wrong? Or this is like crazy, right? This is crazy shit. And they'd be like, yeah, that's pretty crazy. And so I was running this by trans people, but people watch it and they don't watch it. They read the title or they watch 5 minutes of it and they think, oh, he hates trans people. And I'm like, this was like, trans approved actually. Like I was running this, so even though of course, I'm sure some trans people would disagree with some things I say in there, but it's not like this rabid, hateful thing. And I've never met a trans person. And, I'm like I grew up in some fundamentalist compound in Ohio and I'm talking about something I don't know about, I'm sitting here in fucking Berkeley. There's trans people every 10 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
throw a stone.
Right. It's
now that's violence, and that ain't cool that you did that.
you're the one that's talking about stoning trans people, which I think is very completely wrong. I don't
How
approve.
dare you? How dare
That's
you?
very offensive.
So you go to lengths at the beginning of the video to let people know about her previous controversies, her connection to the fans, and then you talk about a lot of the people that kind of like YouTube video about her and make talking about Harry Potter and stuff like that, but with like a lens of today. So I'm gonna play this clip. It's about a minute.
Examples of people reacting like this to everything Rowling says go on and on. She's accused of being anti-Semitic because of the goblins she has running her wizard bank, even though her portrayal is based on many mythological versions of goblins that aren't inherently anti-Semitic. Many types of demons and monsters have been used as caricatures over the years to demonize many ethnic groups, and that doesn't mean that all demons and monsters are portrayals of those groups. In case people weren't sure of her intentions, she made the villain of the entire series her wizard Hitler, whose ultimate goal was racial purity. And then when she made the Fantastic Beasts movies, she made the villain a second wizard Hitler with the same racial motivations in case people were too slow to pick up on the message the first time. While the professionally offended online people are calling her anti-Semitic, she's also been called Islamophobic because she supports Israel. She's accused of being fatphobic because she has some fat villainous characters, even though she also has thin villainous characters and fat heroic characters. She even responded to this over a decade ago with a long essay decrying how some people are obsessed with thinness, but as usual people ignore what she's actually said in favor of what they want her to have said.
And that's kind of like the crux of like a lot of what you're talking about in these videos that you make, right?
Yeah, I think it's when people are just, rather than finding out what she said for themselves, they're just sort of taking the word of their friends and like, oh, my friend says she's a bigot. They don't realize that what their friend is repeating comes from this kind of fan culture where people are just obsessed with, finding problems, and they obsess over, and I think that they don't really realize that. That's why I think it's important that this is something that's been going on with her for 22 years. Every time she talks, people make out, she's racist, she's Islamophobic, she's this or that or whatever, and it's all, none of it's valid. And so that's why people really need to actually look at, when somebody says that she's transphobic, they need to look at like, well, where does that come from? Is there actually support for that? Because
I mean, yeah, I've seen where she's all like, I support these people, and I mean, she's talking about, she puts a whole litany of people, or I don't even know if that's right, a whole bunch of people, in she's talking about them also, and it's like,
she's actually got
everybody
some,
has, a place to be, and whatnot.
yeah, because a couple years ago she was like dunking on the homophobes and whatever, and so she's got some, just in recent months, she's got right-wing anti-trans people have been mad at her because her views aren't actually extreme enough for their taste. Because on the whole issue, she's actually really left of center on the whole trans issue.
So
like, actually, she's pretty far left of center on the whole thing.
Okay, so let me see. I hope. All right. So in the beginning you talk about her. Oh, why don't we go to this one? I want to ask you a question about fans. This is a little bit prior to what I just played.
She was a writer from a humble background, experiencing fame for the first time, and so of course she was flattered by all the excitement and involvement people had in what she had created. I mean, what was she going to say? I want you to be less interested in my books? But I think we've since learned a lot more about the unhealthy way that fans start to think that they own the art that they like, and by encouraging them, she was feeding into this delusion.
So in comics, sometimes in the movies also, since there are, people that read comics, comic fans are, I guess it's actually anybody that likes anything, right? Too much. There is a perception of ownership with people. I think this is mainly, I think it's understandable when not one person but a company owns something. So let's say Spider-Man. I can understand that a little bit more. I don't understand Harry Potter, other than the fact that you talk about how she's allowed people to write, fan fiction on it, and maybe because of that, people have like some perception that they have ownership of the character.
Mhm.
But usually, like, if I was talking about American Flag, I wouldn't think anybody owns that character other than Howard Chaykin, because
Mhm.
Howard Chaykin's the only person that did that.
Right.
Same thing with, see, like, I wouldn't think Frank Miller owns Batman. That's maybe my Batman, but it's my
Yeah.
Batman. And I mean, and people get hung up about it quite a bit because any slight against that character can be worth the dirty message. Like Nick Spencer, when he made Captain America an always Hydra agent, people were really upset about that, going back to Nazis.
Even though wasn't that supposed to be like an alternate Captain America or something like?
Oh no, the alternate Captain America, my friend, is the one that's running around now.
Oh, okay.
The real one, not so much.
No, yeah, that's true that the fans take ownership of it. They don't understand the difference between something that is a corporate product and something that, Harry Potter, which is JK Rowling, it's her little world. You're a visitor. You don't own that. But yeah, I think that's where a lot of the problem with her comes from, is that in the beginning, she was too nice to her fans. She was like, "Yay, fan fiction! That's fun," But she just thought it was a fun thing. I don't think it ever occurred to her 20 years ago that the fans would start telling her, "Oh no, you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not allowed to. It's hers. But I think she let people. That's why people like George R.R. Martin or Anne Rice, they hate fan fiction. They're really upset about it, and that's the reason, because fans start to get the idea that this is interactive, and they start to get the idea that George Martin's supposed to get my permission before he changes something.
Well, there's a lot of people, when they're hating on today's comic book writers, they feel that a lot of those people are basically just doing fan fiction, a lot of the self-insert and stuff like that. I don't know if necessarily, I mean, it's like it used to, and it's I mean, we're not talking about wrestling, but there was a division between being a fan and being a writer, or being a wrestler, or being a promoter. There's levels of where you go, and very few fans become the writers of comic books. But today we're seeing more and more people, even in wrestling, they've been fans of this stuff, so they've always wanted to be that. Wrestling used to be something you fall back into because you blew out your knee as a football player. And probably comics is like, I couldn't make it in the newspaper game, or I couldn't make it as a real writer, so I'm in, doing comic books. I sell more than Hemingway, but who cares?
Yeah, the everything being owned by a corporation and being like a endless, like the character is the thing, and then the person that creates the stories are kind of interchangeable. It's like a rotating cast. I think that really fucks with how people take in art now, because they have this idea that, oh, well, we don't like this story, so let's just get rid of the writer. They think that the creation exists independently of the writer, and that's really not how it's supposed to work. It's a sort of is a perversion of copyright law, that these companies own these things, and that the person that made it's been dead 70 years, but it just keeps rolling on, like a zombie. I think it's a real problem with how fans look at stuff.
Let me ask you this question, or actually, Philippe says, how do the many recently canceled creators like Rowling, Kevin Spacey, Whedon, Carano, Chris Pratt, I'm going to throw in Warren Ellis, and we were talking about Cameron Stewart. How many of these do you think are really valid?
That's a question for me.
Yeah, I think so. Not for me. Do you think they're all valid, or do you think it's been blown out of proportion, and almost always it is?
That's what I'm talking about.
I didn't hear Kanye West, so everybody agrees that he said something horrible.
That's what I'm talking about. Generalizing. I don't think that they're all bad, or they're mostly bad, or none of them are bad. It's like you have to look at it on a case by case thing. I think I don't know if you bring up that list again, I'll give you a. I don't.
We don't have to go a yes, no, yes, no. I think like it's overall.
bad, good, bad, bad, good, bad. Yeah, it's
Well,
but yeah, no, it's you just have to look at it by the person. It depends
so
on.
like, and is it politics? Often it feels like it is. So like that Gina Carano one, right? She did one of those things that, it was Jewish citizens were ratting on other Jews at first, people policing the block, or I don't remember what
Right.
the statement was. And then she got let off her program. And then everybody hates, Disney now. Like Disney is been hated by Southern Baptists when they made the Priest movie. They've been hated by all sorts of people. It doesn't freaking matter.
Well,
But
people make the
recently
mistake of.
Susan Sarandon, old ass Susan Sarandon came out and posted that thing, basically the same thing, and everybody's all, oh, see, blah blah blah, and they're like, well, there was a false equivalency or whatever, and it's like, I just wish people would stop referencing it. I'm done with it.
People make the mistake of thinking that like Disney actually has an opinion. They just have all Disney has is a cost benefit analysis. They just have like a tipping point where they're like, okay, this is losing us money. And when it starts to lose the money, they pretend like they care. They don't, if it's not losing them money, they don't give a fuck, They just whatever their market analysis says, like, oh, Gina has got to the point where I don't even think it was to the point where she was like really, I think that they didn't want to go forward because she was supposed to have a whole series about her character, and they thought, that's a bad gamble because who knows what the fuck she's going to say next. Like, it wasn't even that what she had said was kind of on the line, but they were just kind of like, well, we don't want to put $100 million into a show and then next week she's tweeting like Kanye.
I want to Fantinium thinks he remembers it exactly. He's probably got it on his phone. Carano's Jewish message was due to the mob's idiocy. Yeah, I remember something like that. But we're talking about something that was, I think she was conflating it with like, people voting a certain way or something like that. And, people get really bent out of shape because of that stuff these days.
When
I remember not my president stickers during Clinton. What was he? Slick Willie. It's always happening. Democrats are made fun of more, and Republicans are jerking off in front of public schools. Private, preschools in Arizona. It's just what happens. You got your bathroom stalls and Republicans, and then you got your Democrats being made fun of for being pussies. That's how it always is.
are you going to
onto
do
the subject?
I thought you were going. I thought you were looking for a comment to pull up.
I'm going to do that right now. So JK Rowling said some really horrible things about trans people. Let's see. Hopefully this will be good.
In that situation, and in all of these situations, obviously we need a definition of sex beyond people's feelings and self-identification. That really shouldn't be controversial to say. What makes it controversial isn't the statement itself, but rather the tactics of some trans activists who, on the one hand, choose to respond to any policy that they don't like by saying that it's literal violence, that you're causing the murder of trans people by even talking about it, that any policy other than self-ID is literal trans genocide, and then, on the other hand, target individuals they disagree with rape threats and death threats and doxing, trying to get them fired from their jobs or ostracized from their social circles. If you think that I'm exaggerating, I'm not. There really are people shameless enough to use words like genocide and Holocaust because somebody said that maybe they shouldn't get their dicks out in the ladies' locker rooms. One reason I chose to make this video is that what people say to me in private conversations on the subject, even some trans people, is completely different than what they'll say in public on their social media, because trans activists control the conversation by creating a culture of fear and terrorizing anybody who disagrees with them.
Probably should have played that a little bit earlier.
Trans people terrorists.
Yeah. So that's very interesting, though. Actually, if I am not accepting your reality, and your reality is, and the phrase is, trans women are women. I'm supposed to say that like an automaton, and I will. Trans women are women. There you go. But if you are not accepting of that, what you're doing is you're taking a block out of their reality, and as a result, you're destroying them, and that's where the genocide comes from.
Right. They
I
start
mean,
that you're denying that we exist. There's
right.
this level of hysteria that's not proportionate to what's actually being said. And you can't talk about something when you're like, oh, I have a very specific issue about locker rooms or blah, blah, blah. And then people start going, genocide, or like that Katie Montgomery person that I had the one tweet in the clip that you showed. I mean, go look at Katie Montgomery's Twitter feed. It's like they're trying to wipe us out like all day, every day. That's how that person makes money, is by ratcheting hysteria to this level, but it devalues any actual discussion of the subject, because it's like nobody said you don't fucking exist. Like we were talking about a locker room or this or that,
Well, it seems all right. So it seems like the tweet that was like a big deal. Hopefully, I got the right one. Here, she's taught. Oh, it was maybe the first one. People who menstruate. Was this the very first one that she said that she got like all sorts of people upset because they did there was this article from this Who Even Cares website, and they were talking about people who menstruate rather than just saying women, because people who menstruate includes all people that menstruate, whether they be women or I'm assuming we're talking about trans men then. So trans men and women are the menstruators, is what I'm assuming. But instead, I got to also include trans women because all women are women, right? So she's kind of like, that's the worst thing that she pretty much said, right? I mean, she never said anything about hating on anybody. It's just that, it's like the chest feeding thing. I've seen people talk about that and whatnot. It's
right.
It's a little strange when, hey, I got tits right here,
Well, one of the things that I get a lot is people, and that I've seen JK Rowling get a lot, is people say, oh, well, you're not trans, so this doesn't concern you. So why don't you just shut the fuck up? Because it's not about you. Why do you have to get on this topic? And if you look at this, when JK Rowling says stuff like that, she's not actually talking about things that affect trans people. She's talking about stuff that affect women who aren't trans. And the same way in my video, like I don't even have such a strong opinion on that issue, because that's like a issue of women wanting to be how women would like to be referred to. I'm not a woman, so it's not like an emotional thing to me in the same way. I have an opinion on it. But like in my video, the ones that really get me are the ones that devalue gay people and try to change the definition of gay people. Because that's something that, they're saying, well, this isn't your business. You're not trans, so fuck off. But it does affect other people. There's a lot of times where it comes up against gay rights. And with the stuff JK Rowling is talking about, there's a lot of times where these things affect women. And, I could totally understand for women, where if you're going for like some kind of medical issue, whatever the situation is, where it's your body is important, and the literature is using words like front hole instead of saying a vagina, I can see where that is really fucking dehumanizing and weird. And okay, I understand that there might be like some non-binary person out there, like 1 in 1,000, that it bothers them that their vagina is called a vagina because they don't want to have a vagina, so they want an alternate term. But to please that like one person that's uncomfortable about the word vagina, you're going to tell all women that you no longer have a vagina, you have a front hole. Okay, I can see where that's insanely insulting and dehumanizing. And what are you doing it for? For this like incredibly rare individual that has a momentary discomfort about having their vagina referred to as a vagina, right? So to please that one person, you're coming up with these crazy like, oh, people who menstruate. I saw a thing a few days ago talking for it was some sort of charity thing, and they were doing like a fundraiser to get maxi pads and tampons and whatever for their, like, there's like a women's shelter or something like that. And they said and the pamphlet asking for donations of feminine sanitary products, the pamphlet said we need help for people that bleed, as opposed to saying women. They said we need sanitary products for people that bleed. And it's like, that's really gross and insulting and kind of, and just nasty. And at the same time, it's like not even accurate because you're saying that like what men don't bleed. You're obviously talking about periods, but they're like afraid to say periods. And so it just gets into this, just like this, the level of silliness,
I was gonna clip Triumph, the insult comic dog, where he's at a school for the freshmen are there, and they're talking about how you talk about people, and you don't say freshmen anymore, you say first year students. So it was back in 2016, and they have this flamboyantly gay black man come in and take a piece of candy from up front and then leave. And he's like, will you describe this person? And they're like, oh, he was outgoing.
Right.
Oh, he was very personable.
Very
and,
vivacious.
They didn't want to talk about his color. He's a big guy too. And like big.
That's why I get people.
Gay, they didn't want to anything like that. Because they didn't want to presume and then say the wrong thing. And it's
right.
like, then he brings out a sketch artist and he's like, come on, like for this guy, and it's humorous. It's humorous. And I understand we don't know.
It's silly because everybody know, you're trying not to say it, but everybody knows what you're trying not to say. So it's like, what's the dance for? Everybody knows the word that you're, that's why I get gay people mad at me sometimes because I posted a video yesterday for Halloween, this Onion video about it's the video is like 12 years old now. I don't think they'd make it now because it would be offensive, and I have had gay people get offended by it every time I post it. But it's how to put, if you have a little kid that you think is gay, how to put him in like a manly costume. And the host of the clip says, oh, these are great costume tips for faggy acting little boys, and that like makes me roll the floor every time I hear that, And then I have gay people get it, like, or tell me that's wrong. And I'm like, how are you going to tell me that that's wrong when I'm laughing at it? It's obviously, I'm not allowed to decide for myself if I like that or not. I have to get like a committee decision. So that's why I posted it yesterday. And I was like, costume tips for faggy acting little boys, because, I just hate like dancing around. And it's like, no, I think that's funny. It made me laugh. So I'm going to say faggy, because I fucking feel like saying faggy,
There you go. You have a very humorous clip that I clipped even more of, so that there's so much, and it's a moment where you have all the critics of JK, all about her turfdom.
Joanne Rowling's transphobic tweets.
JK Rowling, a person who has been actively aggressive, cruel, and villainizing of trans people over the last 3 years, who also thinks trans people are the antichrist of the feminist movement and are deranged, mentally ill monsters who want to eliminate and murder all women. She's done harm and has also attacked trans women as a whole group, and it's utterly vile. You don't need to consider the nuances of JK Rowling because she can get bent.
Ms. Rowling of Edinburgh, Scotland, was proud to say that she was a TERF. Thank you very much. And ever since then, she has been more than happy to spout off about her ignorant beliefs whenever given the chance. She's been using her vast influence to hurt the trans community for years now. She's apparently a rabid bigot, turned into an icon of the kind of wrong-headed, bigoted, exclusionary, out-of-touch, ignorant, hateful, tone-deaf, and unwilling to learn and grow and develop and accept new things, new ways of thinking.
Seething hatred, just a festering dislike of transgender people.
So seeing Rowling's bigotry surface,
this dumb bitch doesn't deserve our empathy. She deserves a backhand slap to the face.
Our newly out and proud, incredibly transphobic JK Rowling, a very successful and wealthy author, outs themselves as a bigot.
And that's kind of like the memo was sent out.
Right.
People that do. It's kind of like, remember when Sinclair Group had that message that they were all saying, all their news channels, and like John Oliver put them all up on the screen, and all of them were saying the same thing, beat for beat, word for word. And it's like, 95, 150 channels, all saying the same thing. And there you go. It seemed that way also, at least the way you put it. And there's so much more. I clipped the clips, on
that little segment you played. That could have been a 3-hour video just to people saying those things. And it's, it's as it is. It's like, it's just a solid 2 minutes of people just declaring that JK Rowling said things that she has never actually said, just completely inventing quotes to put into her mouth. And people just feel free to do that for some reason.
All right.
You know?
Firstly, that Tintin looking motherfucker. Seriously? I mean, come on. All right.
That guy cracks me up.
All right. Secondly, there might be actually something to be said when the first person said that, or the second person, not the witch one, said that J.K. Rowling views trans people as like an anti. That she went off the deep end later on, or they went off on the deep end later on. But being antithetical to feminism, do you think that like that actually is true? Maybe J.K. Rowling is like, you guys kind of don't belong, or I don't need you fighting my fights because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, is kind of what J.K. Rowling sounds like to me sometimes.
I think that I think she does get pissy at certain points about people who are biological men telling her how women should and shouldn't feel and how feminists should and shouldn't do feminism. I think that pisses her off, and I think that that's obviously valid. I don't see how you can why you would think that she wouldn't get pissed off about that. But with that, I don't know what that individual's preferred gender is, so I'm just going to dance around pronouns. But what that person is talking about is that J.K. Rowling said in her big trans essay, she said the idea that if people can self-identify as any gender that they choose, and if I tell you I'm a woman, then I can go into a woman's bathroom or a woman's prison or a woman's rape shelter, then she said, obviously predators will have an opportunity to abuse that. People take the fact that she said that and they twist it to say that she's calling trans people predators. She never said trans people are predators. She said predators could take advantage of these laws to exploit these laws to get into places where they shouldn't be, which is, you can't
It
argue
reminds
with that.
me
It's
of
a
the
fact.
bathroom law, though, when you say that. It reminds me of women not being, or trans women not being allowed to go into like a North Carolina bathroom or something like, I don't know what state. Sorry, North Carolina.
Well, I mean, bathrooms are kind of the least of it. That's what people focus on because most people are never going to be in a rape shelter or in a woman's prison. But it's
Most
much
men
more. But a lot of men are these days.
Right.
The thing is that trans activists will tell you, oh, this literally never happens. The idea of like a male sex predator getting put into a female prison because he says that he's trans. They'll say that literally never happens. And it's not like this is what a lot of trans people are doing or the majority of trans people are doing this, or it's not like it's all the time, but it is. If you actually look for stories like that, you can find basically every day a new story of somebody who was identified as male at the time that they were arrested for a sex offense, and they end up getting put into a female jail. And I don't have like statistics in front of me, but it's something like 50% of these people never identified as trans before they were arrested. And suddenly when they were arrested and they could get into female jail, suddenly they discovered their trans identity, right? So what you're not talking about trans people, you're talking about male predators that are using this opportunity, right? And the point that JK Rowling is making is that predators will, if you give them that opportunity, they'll exploit it. So that you obviously need something other than just saying that you're a woman. There has to be some kind of criteria, because it's again, it's not like every trans person is doing this, or but it is happening. It's a real thing that's happening, that men just say that they're
Supreme Court justice, right, recently, and she didn't actually say what I mean, it was a stupid thing to have to say to her, because Republicans are the way they are, but she couldn't describe what a woman was,
I mean, her confirmation hearings.
That was ridiculous to have to do it, but at the same time, it seemed like it was ridiculous that she didn't do that either.
They were trolling her because they knew that she wouldn't want to answer the question. And this is like what I keep saying about the difference between what people say in private and what they say in public, because she knows that she would get shit for any definition that she gives. But obviously everybody knows. The problem that we're running into is that, like, if you're talking about like, are trans women as far as like they want to They want to live as a woman. They want to dress as a woman. They want you to treat them as a woman. That's, I think most people wouldn't fine. If you want me to treat you that way, and that's how you're happy, then okay. But when it comes to something like male and female sports teams, like who gets to be on the female team, that's the issue there is people's physical bodies. The whole reason that we have different male and female sports teams is because male and female athletes have different bodies. And so how a person identifies, what makes them happy, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, do their bodies belong in this category or that category, and people just want to mix the two because they think, if you validate my identity, that means you have to just agree with everything I say. And if you disagree with me ever, that means you're saying I don't exist and you're invalidating my identity. And so like, are trans women as far as like, should they be on the women's sports team, or should they be in the women's swims team, or should they be in women's locker, is a different question than should you treat a trans woman like a woman when she asks you to? Should she be allowed to live like a woman when she wants to?
All right, let me give you a real sticky one here, okay? How dare men tell women what to do with their bodies? How dare they vote and make laws and do all that stuff? I'm 100% on board with men not making these decisions at all. Trans women?
So the question is, was that a woman?
That's
that
my
said
question
that?
without saying it. Should they be doing it?
Right. It's the same thing that how dare you tell me what to do with my body? And JK Rowling gets touchy when it's a person who's biologically male. Where I get pissy is I saw this post a couple days ago by this person who is a biological female who dates male people, which a couple years ago we would have called that a heterosexual, but this individual identifies as a gay man, and so this individual is made this big post about gay men have vaginas, and if you think that gay men don't have vaginas, then you're transphobic, and I have zero tolerance for transphobia in my community. And I'm thinking, this is a person with a vagina telling me about how gay men are allowed to conduct themselves in my community.
Got confused on who you were talking about.
So I think, imagine if I decided that I identify as black, right? And I go online and I start telling black people how they're allowed to act in my community. Okay. I would hope to God one of them will kick my ass, because that's really what they should do.
Yikes.
But
there's that Rachel Doziel lady. She wanted to be so bad, right?
Yeah, that's a real thing that people will identify as transracial,
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'm ready for the future. I just want everybody to know that. I don't even know if comics will be on paper.
This is where I talk about where it impacts gay people, right? Because I have a real problem with there's a picture going around of this biologically female individual who identifies as a gay man, and this individual is wearing a shirt that says 3-hole faggot, because this person sometimes they call themselves bonus hole boys. Oh my God, because they're a boy with a bonus hole.
No way.
Because they've got a
we are really learning something tonight, folks. I'll have you know.
I'm full of interesting, but no, this is real. I mean, this is like again, this is not. I'm not saying that every trans person is like this. I'm not talking on behalf of every trans person, but it's a real thing that exists, and you could find hundreds of examples of bonus hole boys, which is a biologically female person with a vagina going around telling you that I'm gay. I'm a gay man, and if they want to identify as their, favorite anime character, and that's what turns them on, and that's what whatever, do what you like in your own. But they're sitting there and going, this is how it has to be in my community. And I'm thinking, this person's talking about the gay male community, and this person has a vagina, but they're telling me what as a gay man, what I am and am not allowed to say. That's, this is where it gets really, really stupid. Like intensely stupid. And they even feel that, well, because I identify as a gay male, like that gives me the right to use the word faggot, right? And I was just talking about how like if it makes me laugh, I'll use the word faggot because I think, you know, if I'm a faggot and it's making me laugh, then it's okay because, you know, it doesn't bother me, so I have the right to decide whether or not I'm bothered. I don't think an individual with the vagina has the right to come up and tell me, no, you have to be okay with the word faggot now. I'm a bonus hole boy, so I get to tell you that I can call you a faggot. That I start to have a real problem.
And the LBGTQ plus A and all that. Where's the bonus hole boy?
Well, the bonus hole
Holy
boy
cow.
would tell you that the bonus hole boy is a gay man, right?
Oh, it's a gay. It's a gay. Very good. Continuing the theme with like crazy people. Here are people that are they wish harm on JK Rowling.
They'll say openly that their tactic is to make TERF labeled people afraid to speak and afraid for their personal safety. While saying that they're against hate and advocating for love and acceptance, they'll openly say that if somebody is labeled a TERF, then that label gives you permission to hate them.
Hating TERFs means supporting trans women.
Shit, I'm happy for them to hit her. I'm happy for them to hit her. Really? Yeah, therapy. Do you want to tell the police that you're inciting violence? Should I just get No, you tell them. Go. I can try.
Intentionally misgendering trans people is an act of violence.
Misgendering a trans person is an act of violence.
So, if you are having gender identity problems and someone keeps misgendering you, just fucking get a fucking pan somewhere and just start just smacking them in the face with it.
That's anybody that's a TERF.
Anybody
it's pretty
that says
much, but JK Rowling, it's hundreds and hundreds of people saying horrible things about not living and stuff like that.
And a TERF is anybody that says something that any trans person doesn't like. That's the definition of TERF.
So it could be like misgendering, but how hair trigger are people when it comes to that? You know, I mean, did I know you my whole life as one thing? You know,
Rowling is really careful. She's never misgendered somebody in a tweet or whatever. I think she probably has an assistant or something that edits all of her tweets because she's very careful about what she says. And people use that. The fact that she didn't say something, people will use as evidence of like, oh, see how careful she is to avoid saying what she really thinks, you know? And it's like, so even if she doesn't say it, people will still get mad at her for it, whether or not but the point is that, you know, she's very careful of not crossing the line so that she doesn't say stuff that people can use against her. And then people just make up stuff that she didn't say, you know?
She to the people that were burning her books years and years ago on the right, she was telling people, thank you for that money, basically. And now to the people, and she's kind of a troll when it comes to this, for sure. People are like, don't you feel horrible that all the people that loved your stuff can't stand you now? And she's like, yeah, I go to sleep crying with all the money you've given me.
Yeah, she had a recent one and she was like, no, I look at my royalty checks and I feel just fine. I think that, you know, and then that's the thing though, is people are, you know, with a celebrity like that, people are looking for any place where they slip up. And so it's like, we can tell you that you're a cunt and a bitch and we're going to kill you and we're going to rape you and we want to beat you. Thousands and thousands of people telling you we want to kill you. And then if she makes one little sarcastic joke, people are like, oh, see how mean she is. She's so cruel. She's so mean, you know? I think that she's incredibly controlled considering what she's responding to, you know? But she gets sassy once in a while. And I think if you look at what she's answering, then I think she has every right to get a little, if I was in her position, I would be 100 times more foul and angry, you know, with this stuff.
Well, you know, now that everybody's not verified, you know, JK could be behind all of this stuff, you know, that's going on out there. Let me ask you a question, going back to Twitter. The people who don't support an Elon Musk Twitter, are they more or less likely to call JK Rowling a TERF? The people that don't support an Elon Musk Twitter, are they more or less likely to call her a TERF?
No, I guess more because there's a lot of overlap between the type of people that are outraged over Elon Musk, because part of what they're scared of Elon Musk doing is they think that Elon Musk is going to suddenly allow rampant transphobia on Twitter. I think what he probably is going to do is he's going to, before on Twitter, you can get banned and stuff for misgendering somebody, meaning that you could get banned by referring to them by their actual sex as opposed to referring to them by their right, as opposed to referring by them.
You're starting to offend me now.
Right. By not observing that you're supposed to send them an individualized email and ask what made up word they want you to use for their pronouns, I think people are having a little bit of a panic over that you might actually be able to refer to reality without getting banned for it. That's gonna.
Fantinium says Rowling is a self-made billionaire. She can't be canceled. Is this the difference between her and Kanye? Because he does a lot of what he makes is product that other people have to pay him for.
Yeah,
you still need the fans, but
Kanye makes a lot. He makes his money through endorsement deals like Adidas and shit. Yeah. Rowling makes her money just because people want to give her money for the things that she writes herself. She doesn't need Adidas or whatever. People give her money for her books.
I've thought for probably, and I've never watched a Harry Potter movie.
They aren't very good. Yeah,
I've never read one of the books.
I like the books.
I personally think YA is for kids, and I already read YA, which is comic books, so I don't need to read the books personally. But what I've often wanted, and like we're talking about printing money in the comic book store, if she had a Harry Potter comic come out and it was like really well written and it was faithful to the books and everything, that would be every month people would be coming in to get that book. Every month, $6 book, no problem. And it's a shame because a lot of people are looking for answers as far as comics or a star to come in and save us, and it's not the illustrators anymore and it's not the writers anymore. But if we got Harry Potter in comic book form, that would be an impressive situation.
Yeah, she doesn't want other people telling Harry Potter stories. That's
no. I'm saying tell her story. You can do it Stephen King style. Word for word,
well,
like gospel. I don't care.
I like Stephen King, but
you want it done gospel style, Rowling? No problem. We'll make sure it happens that way. But that would be an instant hit in the comic store for a long time.
I mean, I like Stephen King a lot, but he's also kind of a whore because I don't know how, like those Dark Tower books, he didn't really write those. He put his name on those, but he didn't write much of those Dark Tower books. Yeah. I mean, comic books. The comic book, he wrote the Dark Tower novels, of course, but the Dark Tower comics, I think that was a branding opportunity. He put his name on there and got a check. I think he wrote about 5
Peter
words.
David did a lot of it.
Yeah, Peter David wrote those. And I don't think Rowling wants that type of relationship. The movies are like the movies are basically the movies are the retelling of her story, and I guess they could do a comic that just retells the story of the books, I guess. But
I mean, it's just another format of the same thing she's already done. She needs to do very little, as far as making it happen. It would be, I think it's like printing money. I think it would have been, and it still would be a big hit because you can see the sales and the way that people see the movies and stuff like that.
It would still be even with the movies, she did a lot of work to sort of guide the adaptations and give feedback on the script and whatever. And I don't know if she's interested for a comic to do
I'm sure.
that kind of, but I'm sure people would buy it. I just don't think that she really.
It's the only thing that can save comics. Anyway, let me do this really quick. See if I can find it. Thank you, Rick, for joining us tonight, talking about your video. I have the link in the comments down below. Go visit Rick's channel, Rick Worley, if you haven't already. He does really good work on a variety of subjects. and they're long because regardless of what people think, if it's good, people really do want to stick around for the entirety of it. And your stuff is pretty darn good, if you ask me.
They've all got chapter headings. You can watch it in installments. You don't have to sit there for 2 hours.
That's right. And I had a lot of clips I wanted to play. Fuck it, let's just talk. So go on and make sure you watch this video, even if you're like, fuck that bitch. It's still really good. And you can see people behaving badly that aren't just that aren't JK Rowling. Thank you to all our patrons. You're the ones that make it all worthwhile, and I really appreciate your help, your generosity. It goes to the store, it goes to the show. If it goes to the show, it goes to the store, and vice versa. We should have an unboxing in a week or two. I bought some stuff I shouldn't have done, but I did. Spider-Man, by the way. I know you're a big fan. So that will be happening in the upcoming weeks. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you have something you want to say, let me look at the comments before we leave. Dun, dun, dun. Are we getting a Kanye, a Ye video from Rick?
No.
That would be a good one.
No. I'm not interested enough in his work to do the research for it.
You could do a premise of like PTSD. Jill was saying like, oh, ever since like his mom died, he's like gone off the deep end. And so you don't really have to necessarily look at his work as much as his actions. It's just a freebie, whatever.
One way with my videos that I'm a little bit lazy is that I don't do it unless it's something that I'm already interested in. So I was already a fan of Woody Allen or whatever, so I didn't have to do too much research because I already knew. And Woody Allen, I mean, if I did a Kanye video, I'd be having to learn about Kanye from the ground up because I don't know about Kanye. So
Battle Buddy wants to let everybody know that November 5th is the Berkeley Comic Con. Go to berkeleycomiccon.com and you can I think it's Comic Show. They're on Instagram. There's going to be a lot of people coming in for the first time. People from LA with collections that they'll be bringing up. So if you like old comics and are in Berkeley on the weekend, you should hit that one up. Thank you, Battle Buddy. I always forget to do that. Jill and everybody wants to say thank you for joining us today, Rick. And again, I really appreciate it. I love seeing what you come up with, like I'm a fan of Woody Allen. I was not a fan of the Star Wars movies because I didn't care to watch them. That's really what it was.
You've still never seen the prequels, have you?
No, I only saw the first. I saw the first episode, yes, just not the other ones. I watched it because I wanted to have an understanding of what you were talking about, and it wasn't as bad as I had thought it was going to be. It's just I thought some of it was superfluous. Whatever. That's George Lucas, and he's an old man, so he's allowed to be that way. But you have you have a premise that you're going with. You explain it, you show it, you illustrate it. I think you don't do it to death, but you fully examine everything, and not unlike this, was JK Rowling right video. It's excellently done. Way to go. And
thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed this. Should I have Rick on just to talk some bullshit comics? Let us know. Thank you very much. We will see you next week. No video because I want to talk to Rick on the other side. Bye.